Okay, here we go. This is going to be chapter 13, sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to give you the answers now. So many people have complained that I'm not talking loud enough. So maybe that'll just wake you up. And I got third period here staring at me while I'm doing this. All right. Between 400 and 600 small Germanic kingdoms replaced Roman provinces. Y'all remember the fall of Rome? Germanic invasions, all those other things. Then finally Germanic tribes started to develop into kingdoms. And then here are some of the kingdoms. Clovis. What role did the church play in helping Clovis conquer other Germanic peoples? First thing you need to talk about, or the first answer is, he converted. He converted to Christianity, and after his conversion, the church supported all military campaigns that he did against other Germanic tribes. Number 2, what role did Pope Gregory the Great play in spreading the idea of a vast unified kingdom? He broadened the church's power, included other secular affairs, which are basically like church type affairs, and he also helped spread the idea of a kingdom being based on a church. Number 3, Clovis' successors extended Frankish rules. What was important about Charles Martel's victory at the Battle of Tours? It halted a huge Muslim invasion of Europe, and it also prevented the Frankish kingdom, basically French kingdom, from becoming part of the Muslim empire, and it made him a huge hero of the French people, early French people. Number 4, how did Pepin the Short strengthen the Frankish kingdom? He fought the Lombards, which were another early French type group, and the Pope anointed him and established it was like an informal alliance between the Pope and all future French kings. Number 5, what was the importance of Charlemagne's coronation as emperor? It signaled the joining of Germanic power. All Germanic tribes were now under one group or one kingdom. And it signaled the joining of the Germanic power, the church, and the heritage of the Roman Empire. So you had 3 things very specifically joined there. Number 6, how did Charlemagne govern his unified kingdom? He sent out agents to see that counts of the kingdom governed their counties justly. They're fair, and he also visited every part of his kingdom. He supervised the management of his huge estates also. We don't have to do B. Let me get to section 2. Section 2, social structure of feudalism. Number 1, explain the mutual obligations of the feudal system. In exchange for military and other services, such as, working the land, working the crops, and other things, the lord, who is also known as the landowner, landowner, granted land to a vassal. Vassal was the ones that usually worked the land. Number 2, explain why the feudal system often resulted in complicated alliances. The same noble, he might be a vassal to several different lords. So, vassals weren't only just people that worked the land. Vassals could also be knights. And so that knight might be knights to several different lords, so that's a huge complication in alliances. Number 3, describe feudal social classes. There were 3 groups: those who fought, those who prayed, and those who worked. Social class was usually inherited. You're not going to gain a social class or lose a social class. Number 4, the economics. Explain the mutual obligations between the lord and serfs under the manor system. In exchange for housing, land, and protection, serfs had to perform tasks, to keep to maintain the estate, to make it look well, and to pay several different kinds of taxes. Number 5, explain why serfs rarely had to leave the manor. Everything was on the manor. It was self-sufficient. Everything that they needed for daily life was within the manor, water, food, all those different things. And number 6, explain why the serfs accepted their economic hardships. Because the church taught them to accept it. That, they believed, people and, the serfs believed that God ordained them to be this way and to be in this social position, so they never, ever, ever, ever tried to get out of that social position. All right, let's go to section 3. And there it is. Age of Chivalry. Some of y'all need to know what this is, because most guys have no idea what chivalry is, because they're a bunch of PIGs. Don't know how to treat ladies. I don't know why I keep on talking about this, but let's go. Number 1. Education. Knighthood and chivalry. Take notes to fill in the web diagram below. Let's talk about knighthood and chivalry and the education of those. It began at age 7. They started training as a page, basically like a little errand boy in the castle of another lord, and at 14 he began training as a squire. Usually a squire was an individual servant to a knight, acting as a servant to a knight, and at 21 he actually became a knight. Number 2, weapons and equipment. Saddles, stirrup, armor, high-flying missiles, basically bolts, giant bolts like out of a giant crossbow. Number 3, war games, literally tournaments of war games, jousting, all kinds of different things. Those are the things that you see on some of these, night movies, if you want to call them that. Number 4, the code of chivalry. Here's what you had to do. You had to be loyal, you had to be brave, courteous. You were, defend 3 different masters. You had to defend the feudal lord, you had to defend God, and you had to defend your chosen lady. And also you had to protect the weak and the poor. Number 5, castle life. Castles were lived in. They protected the home of the feudal lords. They were huge stone castles designed as fortresses with massive walls and guard towers. Number 6, romantic love. You were expected to defend your chosen lady and keep her entertained with love poems and love songs. Let's go to section 4. Section 4, the church wields power. As you read about the clashes between the church and European rulers, note the causes and outcomes of each action listed. All right, so remember what I said about causes? You had the be before it, because. So because the Latin Church and the Eastern Orthodox Church, because of those 2 churches, Otto invades Italy on the Pope's behalf. Wait, something's wrong. Hold on. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. My bad. All right. Because Otto wants to limit the power of nobles and form an alliance with the church, he invades Italy on Pope's behalf, and the outcome was the Pope crowns Otto as emperor, the first emperor in a long time. No, he's not. A lot of people believe that he was the emperor of the ancient Roman Empire, but you got to understand that they were still, tribes, if you want to call it that. Number 2, Pope Gregory bans lay investiture. We'll talk about lay investiture later, but because the Pope represents or resents control that the emperors had over clergy, he bans lay investiture. The outcome was that Henry Henry IV calls a meeting of bishops and orders Gregory to step down from the Pope, to make Gregory step down and no longer be a Pope. Number 3, the cause. Gregory excommunicates Henry. Bishops and princes side with Pope, and Henry wants Pope's forgiveness. So Henry travels to Canossa. The outcome, Henry is forgiven and returns home and punishes all his nobles. Number 4, representatives of the church and emperor meet in Worms, or Worms, really, in ancient German, the W is V, so we'll just say Worms. But the cause, issue of lay investiture, remains undecided. Like I said, I'll explain that lay investiture later. So because it's undecided, Representatives of church and emperor meet in Worms. The outcome, the compromise is reached in which the emperor has the veto power over a bishop being appointed. So if he doesn't like that bishop, he can veto that bishop out of power. But only the church can grant a bishop the symbols of the church office. So I know it's kind of confusing, but the only the church can grant the guy all the symbols of the church, like all the iconic symbols. Number 5, because Frederick brutally angers Italy merchants and the church, Lombard League fights battle of. You know what? We're not going to do number 5. Cross it out. See ya.